Okay, and we should be live. All right, what's up, everybody? This is Ryan here, and you are watching another episode of me live coding a Kotlin multi-platform project. So I should probably ramble for just a minute about why it's been so long since I did one of these live streams on this particular project. So, because it might be useful information, I'm assuming if you're watching this, you might be remotely interested in Kotlin multi-platform. And sorry, let me just make a quick adjustment here. So the truth is that it took me something of the order of like 12 hours total to configure Gradle to work properly with what I was trying to do. So basically, in the application, I have a couple different modules here. I've got an Android front-end module. I've got a common module, which is suddenly breaking. We'll see why that's the case. Or actually, I think it's been breaking for a while. We've got a desktop front-end module, and then within the common module, there's three, I believe these are called sub-projects in Gradle jargon. So there's a compose UI subproject, a database subproject, and then a main subproject. So there's a lot going on. The original approach I had was to basically just have these things in separate modules, but that wasn't really working super well, and I couldn't find a project where I could really reference that. Just give me 1 second, Jeremy. I didn't have a project. I couldn't find a project where I could sort of reference that approach that I was trying to achieve, which had not only Kotlin multi-platform mobile, but also with the desktop and the and compose all together. So I did eventually find such a project, but it used a different approach, and this is sort of the result we have now. So down in the script, if you're curious about this, down in the description box below, there's a link to a project called just To Do app, and it's just a demo application, and it was made by Arkady Ivanov. So big shout out to Arkady for this, or for his Gradle setup. It was very different. Like, I'm not actually really used to creating these sort of nested build Gradle scripts inside of a single module type thing. But after playing around with it for about 2 days and solving this one really stupid error that I still don't understand how it worked, I was able to get things pretty much working. At the very least, the Android front end is deployable. So that's a very important step in the right direction. So let's see here. Jeremy asks, "Sir, just a doubt. You can call me Ryan or bro or whatever. No need to be too formal." Jeremy asks, "Sir, just a doubt. I'm a total beginner interested in app dev. That was me in 2014. So is Kotlin the best choice to begin with?" Well, I'm not going to spend a ton of time. So the first thing, Jeremy, is on Sundays, not this coming Sunday, just because this coming Sunday is my birthday, so I won't be live streaming because I'll probably be a little bit hungover. But on this coming Monday, I do a live stream Q&A where I can give you very long, in-depth answers on these kinds of questions, and I'm very happy to. So the short answer is there's no such thing as the best choice as far as a programming language in absence of thinking about what your goals are. So if you're interested in Android specifically, I think Kotlin is a very good choice. But there's lots of different options out there, and don't worry about finding the best programming language. Find a programming language and a platform which allows you to be writing applications that you can deploy quickly. That's the most important thing, is to build projects. Don't worry about learning things in like this big laundry list approach. Just start building functioning applications, even if they suck, because they probably will suck at first. And Kotlin is a great language to start with. So anyways, Moody says, "Hey, came here just in time after watching the podcast. Did you enjoy the podcast? Hopefully you did." And then blue mechanical switch versus brown in terms of tactility feel. So I think you're talking about mechanical keyboards. Unfortunately, I don't have one. I actually would like to get a mechanical keyboard, but I haven't actually felt the feedback of the blue versus the brown switches, so I can't really say for sure. You're very welcome, Jeremy. Okay, anyways, I'm going to take a break from answering questions. So we're going to work on the Android client and the desktop client here. And what I have right now is I've created this sort of Gradle sub project which has the composables in it. And I mentioned this on Twitter. If you're not on Twitter, you should probably, or if you're not following me on Twitter, you probably should. Probably you're here from Twitter. So basically, we've got these composables that were in the Android front-end module. And then now I've put them into the common module. Now, immediately, the most important thing that I've got to sort of solve is that if I want to share these things across the desktop front end and the Android front end, and potentially the Compose.js front end, but I'm not sure how stable that is. But if you're going to do that, obviously there needs to be a layer of abstraction over top of anything that has to do with the Android platform. So that's what we're going to look at today. I think what I can do is create some kind of a container class for these sorts of resources and then pass that into the composables. And then using our source sets here, which is a feature of Kotlin Multiplatform, I can have a different version of that container which gets passed into the Android application, and then a different version that gets passed into the desktop application. They'll have the same class signature using a feature of Kotlin Multiplatform, but they'll be implemented differently. Because to be honest, I literally did my Compose desktop Hello World yesterday, so I don't actually know how to load resources for a Windows application. Certainly not using Compose desktop, but hopefully what I can do is I can just create this wrapper, worry about the implementation details for the desktop version of this thing later. Probably I'll try and code up the Android version unless I run out of time here. Not that I'm under a specific time constraint, but yeah. So that's kind of the plan for today. A couple more comments. What's up, Alfred? Awesome. So Alfred did well on his take-home assignment for a junior developer position. That is great, and I'm really glad to hear my videos were useless. Cybershark gives me a hint here. What's up, Graph Sensei? Most of Compose Desktop uses buffered image from JWT, I believe. Okay, I will look into that. Thank you for that little hint. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Just for some useful stuff, I know a few people here are actually curious about implementation in terms of Kotlin Multiplatform Mobile. And one little thing that is probably worth sharing. Sometimes you're going to have things which need to be sort of the same but different across the Android and the desktop and the iOS thing. There's a way you can do that if I can find an example of it somewhere in here. I definitely have an example, but... dispatcher provider, I think. Is this one? Yes. Okay. So this is a perfect example. So what I'm about to demo is the expect actual keywords for the Kotlin language and the Kotlin Multiplatform Mobile plugin. Okay, so I have this class called a dispatcher provider. And what it does is it provides dispatchers. So what the dispatchers are, it allows me to run my coroutines either on the main thread, essentially the main dispatcher, and then also what will effectively be a background thread, but it's called dispatchers.io, and I'm not going to get into the technicality of coroutines versus threads, but suffice it to say, if you need to do work... Oops, why is that not really working? Weird. Sorry, I'm getting OCD about that. Anyways, yeah, it allows you to run your coroutines on a background thread if you're doing something that should be done on that. Now, don't confuse coroutines and threads, but just understand that's what we're doing here. Now, let's say this thing needs to be different between two different classes. Just a moment here. Let me clean some stuff up here. So in this particular case, we needed to supply different coroutine dispatchers for different Gradle configurations. One second. So basically what this is we have this one class that I want in both the desktop and the Android module called dispatcher provider. But I want to use different dependencies in this case. It could be different code, but in this case it's different dependencies for these two different classes in order for them to work properly. So what I end up doing is that I first create an expect class. So this goes in the common module, in this case, the common source set. Sorry, I have to get my technical language correct here. So in the common, which is sort of like the shared source set, you create a class which, where did it go? Yeah, it's right here, which you can create a class or a function, in this case it's a class, which has the expect keyword. So what this is kind of telling the Gradle build system is that in the source sets which are specific to, say, desktop and Android in this case, I hope I'm not in full screen mode, good. In the source sets which are specific to a platform, we will place an actual class, which is just a class that has this actual keyword in front of it and in front of the functions. So just a couple things to note. In the expect class, it's similar to an interface. You don't actually implement the functions, you just write the function signature. In the actual classes, then you will implement the functions and et cetera, et cetera. So what this allows us to do is, here we're in desktop main, and this one is in Android main. And, you know, I'm pretty sure I needed to do this, but I made so many changes yesterday that I might not actually need to, because I think it might actually be the same dispatchers. But that's beside the point. It should demonstrate to you what the expect actual class or the expect actual keywords are for. So expect means we're telling the build system, I expect that there will be a class called this, but I want it to be implemented specific to a source set. And then in each source set, you will write an implementation. It has to have the same name, same functions, presumably, and it has to have the actual keyword. And the end result is that when you're, say, building to the desktop version or the Android version, then the implementation will be swapped out appropriately. So hopefully that makes sense. Cybershark mentions, I bet you love Gradle now. Holy crap. Yeah, do I ever. I spent so many hours working on Gradle, and just to explain to people what the problem was, it still doesn't make any sense to me. So I have this shared Gradle configuration. I think it was multi-platform setup. And in this shared Gradle configuration, I had two references. Ignore this error. It's just like a IntelliJ issue. I had these two dependencies to some coroutines libraries. Now, I don't understand how exactly this works, but because I had those two dependencies to these coroutine libraries, my compose subproject here, which doesn't even depend on that particular shared Gradle configuration, it depends on a different one, was not able to recognize any dependency from common main, even though the dependency is configured right here, like it should work. So for some stupid reason, merely deleting these two dependencies, which on the surface at least shouldn't have anything to do with that, allowed it to suddenly start recognizing the source code from the common main subproject. So that was a really annoying issue, because it was one of those problems where I had to just try 500 different things. I was very close to giving up because I was spending about 6 hours on that one problem. And then when I finally solved the issue, I don't understand how I solved it. I think what's going on is it must have been some kind of internal Gradle error that wasn't really visible to me, where some dependencies were being screwed up and that was causing something not to work properly. But that's obviously a pretty poorly understood and defined problem. So with all that rambling out of the way, let's get to work. Okay, so most of the work we're going to be doing will be in the main, the common main source set here. Or no, sorry, the rather the common main, the compose UI source set. So as I alluded to before, what I think I need to do is, so composables which don't make any reference to anything to do with Android specifically, they're fine. I can already share these between the desktop and the Android front ends. So that would be like loading screen, for example. Excuse me. Now, where the issue starts to arise is in, I've only moved over one of these, but anything obviously that has to do with like Android's resources really doesn't belong in here. I think I can reuse some of the Android X compose stuff. I think I can do that. Let's see if that works. Yeah, I think I can reuse some of these things, but anything specific to the Android operating system, like resources, as far as I'm aware, I'm not going to be able to use that. Certainly anything I retrieve from Android resources, which is the R class, I'm not going to be able to use that in the desktop front end. So what I was thinking of is basically having a class. I don't know, I might even just call it like, I might call it R. That's probably a terrible idea, because then I'll have, it'll confuse the importer. But let's call it like res or something like that. And it'll be like, I'll call it maybe platform resources. And then I'll probably use the expect actual keyword to supply a different platform resources code or different platform resources source, depending on which source set I'm in. And I think that's how I'm going to approach doing this. But this episode is not going to be a tutorial or how-to guide. This is me experimenting with something new. Also, I see there's some other issues here which I'll need to correct, but that's fine. So that's the first thing. I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to try and get everything else kind of building and working, and then we'll worry about the resources. Because there's some stuff here which should still be sort of independent. I think I just need to move it over. But yeah, anytime we're calling like color resource or something like that, then we're going to have to figure out a way to do that differently, and that's going to require definitely a layer of abstraction. And what I'd like to do is try and make it so that I have to rewrite the least amount of code possible in the composables, but I'm not exactly sure how well that's going to go. So anyways, we're going to remove this for now, and let's just figure out, there's some stuff here which should be fixable just by moving some things around. So where are you? Android client, Dayview. Okay, I think this is like a, yeah, okay, I think I know where this is. And this should definitely be something that can be placed in the, yeah, so it's these two here. So I'm going to grab both of these classes and move them over to the Compose UI module. And, you know, it's worth mentioning, I'm not actually sure that I will be able to share the presentation logic across both classes, but we'll see. It's a definite maybe. So this will be the kind of thing that gets very interesting. So first I'm just going to fix the package name. Good. All right. So immediately we're running into this thing with issues here. Cybertruck mentions, would providing the resources class through composition local provider be dumb? I don't know. That might actually be a much better solution. What's up? I'm going to try and pronounce your name. Andrei Cibulski. Andrei Cibulski. I'm still trying to keep my Cyrillic fresh. You're very welcome, Andrei. Okay. I thought I moved over list item type. See, this is this weird thing that it looks like Android Studio does. When I select two classes to copy and paste them, it only moves one of them. And I don't know why. So these are just enums, so that shouldn't present any issues whatsoever. I should probably look into the composition local provider, because if I can... Does that come from like a... specific library? Composition local provider. I should definitely look into that, because if I don't have to make my own wrapper, that would be handy. Okay, so let's just fix this. We still have this reference to res ID thing going on. Now, I think this is actually a... Yeah, this is a helper function that I've created, so I think we should be able to just import that one, if I recall correctly. No? Okay, so maybe that's sitting in the wrong place. May have misspelt it. Composition local. Oh, you may have misspelled it, I see. Okay, for some reason I can't scroll down. That's nice. Oh, we'll look into it in a bit. Okay, so to res ID, so that would be the kind of thing that I would need to abstract out a little bit. I think you should be able to use expect actual for functions as well. So yes, I am depending on the compose runtime. Let me just look this up, because this could end up saving me a lot of time. It is called composition local provider. I don't know why it's not showing up for me. I'm not exactly sure it can help me with resources, but I think it probably can help me with kind of like setting up different dimensions based on the local composition, but I think I'm still going to go ahead with my wrapper thing. Hey, what's up, Florian? Thanks for stopping by. For those who have not yet seen, Florian and I rambled on his podcast for something like 3 hours. So definitely go and check that out if you're interested in learning how to become a better programmer, better meditator, or learning about why I am as weird as I am. So, this is going to be a tricky one. ToResID. So this will be a helper function that I think I have in common. No? In here. So the trick will be, this will be the kind of thing that I'll probably need to have expect actual again. Either that or I pass something into these functions which provides the resources, but that could be a little bit tricky. Okay. Well, at least we've got that working for now. Okay, so let's, I'm going to kind of brainstorm in code. Normally I would kind of do this on paper, but we're live coding, so I kind of will do it differently. But here's the approach I am thinking. So in the UI module of the common main source set, we're going to make a class, and it's going to be called resource provider. Let's call it that. I guess we can add it to Git, whatever. This one's going to be an actual class. Now, it might actually make more sense to make it an object. And the reason why is that you can do that, if I recall correctly, with the expect actual thingy. It's complaining because there's no corresponding expected declaration. And now, if I really want to commit to this approach, I think what I have to do is I have to have a function for every resource that I want to return, which is interesting. I think I want to do something a little cleaner than that. I don't mean clean as in clean architecture, but just easier to manage. So, how are we going to do this? This application uses icons. I have somewhere in here an enum for all of the icons. I know what we're going to do. Okay, I think I have an idea. We have enums for colors and we have enums for icons. I'll need to make an enum for like toolbar icons as well. But I think if we do a function for each of those things, then we can have one function per enum. And I think that's a lot cleaner than having one function for every kind of icon which this application might have. So at least for the time being, and I might change my mind, we're going to do that. So I'm going to add a new class, enum class, called toolbar icons. Toolbar icon, sure. We can add it to Git. And now I need to go through and figure out all of the icons I need. Well, we'll do that in a minute. Let's slap a to-do in here. To-do, make this. Okay. And then in the resource provider, we're going to have two functions. So hold on a minute. This needs to be expect. I think it can be an object. I don't see why it wouldn't. Can it be an object? We'll see. So it's going to be fun. get icon. It will take our icon as an argument, and then we actually need to figure out what it's going to return in a minute. That'll be interesting because I have to return something which can be understood both by the as an Android resource and then some kind of resource in desktop. I probably should have did more research on how to get things in Compose Desktop, how to get resources. That's a pretty critical part. Okay, so fun get icon, get toolbar icon. We'll just say icon again. And then fun, I think I also need, I think I need expect. Or is it, maybe you don't. Okay, yeah. For some reason you don't use expect for the member functions in the expect class, but you do in the, oh, am I in full screen mode? Oh my God. Sorry guys, you gotta tell me sooner. I will be getting a second monitor soon, so that will stop happening, but please tell me sooner when that happens. Okay. Unfortunately, I had to leave the 2 monitors I already owned in British Columbia, 1 province over. I could only ship my PC. So, and I still have yet to go and get them. All right, so we've got get icon and then get color. And so these are all enums. So the next question is what am I actually going to return from these functions? So in Davy's screen, we're going to do something like, we're going to pass, I think we'll call it res. It'll be a resource provider. We're going to pass this thing in, and then anytime we need to get a resource, I don't think we're going to be able to use painter resource because I'm not sure. I think that might be something Android specific. Yeah, I think that's Android specific. But there should be a way we don't need to do that. So, what can we do here? Image vector. I think we can use, probably bitmap is what we want to use. Bitmap, and what type is that? It's a type image bitmap. So is there like a factory function here, or do I just create image bitmap? Okay, and what can we pass in here? Okay, this could work. So I think image bitmap should be I need to look into how they work with image bitmaps in Compose. Because if they use their own thingy, which it looks like they might, then this could actually be tricky. Image bitmap. Okay, can I create one of these things? Oh, neat. They're using expect actual. Okay, I'm not seeing anything that looks particularly easy. So I've got to figure out how to do this. Bitmap, painter, image vector. I think I'm going to need to look at some source code. I don't really see any other way I can proceed without actually understanding how Compose Desktop loads images. Just give me 1 second. Consult the Oracle. I don't normally advise going on Stack Overflow, but it does have its uses if you just need really quick answers to a question, or to a bug search query, but just be very careful what kind of thing you're copying. Image from resource? Now the problem is that sometimes this could be like older versions. I guess I can kind of show you what I'm doing, sort of. Yep. I'm seeing usage of a library here. I don't know if that's something I need to add in though. Let's just look at two things. So image from resource and then this image asset. So first thing, image from resource. Do I have access to that? No. Okay, so it looks like that might be a library that I need to add in, and quite conveniently, the people who answered this question didn't link the library. So what we're going to do is figure out where that library is coming from. I am going to deliberately put you in full cam mode here for a sec, so just give me a moment. Because I think I need this library. Oh, interesting. I've never seen this library before, but it's JetBrains, so that's a good sign. And this looks pretty much like what I'm looking for. Does it support Android though? Well, it supports Linux, so it should. Okay. Well, we're going to give this a try, and we'll see if it works. All right, so I'm going to go into build.gradle. We'll need the compose UI. Actually, I think multiplatform compose setup, I think, is where we need to go. And we're going to say implementation. Hey, what's up, the Apache? You might be able to help us. Thank you for showing up. We're currently trying to figure out how to sort of basically make a way to create image resources which function both on desktop and Android. And the current way I'm approaching that is to basically just create a layer of abstraction over top of that to pass in a resource provider class that I'm making, which will provide the resources. But in order for me to actually make that class, I need to figure out a common way to load the images and provide them from that class. So that's what we're working on right now. So what I need to do is we go into depths. By the way, this is a cool little thing. I learned this from Mr. Arkady Ivanov. In Gradle, you can create a module called build source, which is like a reserved name. And then you can create Gradle configurations that can be shared uh, sort of almost, I would say, inherited. And then you can also create, I've seen various ways of setting up sort of like a single place to define dependencies and their versions and stuff like that. But this is so far the cleanest way I've seen how to do it. So we're going to say const val. We'll call this we'll call it that. Oh, okay. I was looking at this library, but if there's an easier one. So I know, so for the folks who don't know the Apache, our resident attack helicopter, Apache is very good with Compose and has done a lot of projects on Compose desktop as well. So, okay. Well, I'll try that then, because honestly, I trust your input here quite a lot. So let's look at that. Kotlin asynchronous media loading. Because it looks like this is probably what I was going to do by hand, but it's not exactly, it's not like it's the kind of thing, I know I'm in full screen mode, just give me a moment here. It's not exactly the kind of thing I really care to do by hand if someone's already implemented. Sometimes I do care, but what's up, Piyush? Hmm. Just trying to think of how I think this is what I can use. Just trying to think of how to use it. Okay, so let's stick this as like a common thing. It's not going to be Kotlin. Okay. Okay. Then in here we'll say oh, that's not a JetBrains library. Let's do this a little bit better. Image loader. Okay. Okay. I think that's working properly. By the way, I feel like we can pull app compat. Yeah, I think we should be able to just. I made like 500 changes to Gradle. deps.android.appcompat. So I haven't actually cleaned everything up properly. Appcompat lowercase. Android dot okay, androidx.appcompat. App.appcompat. Okay. The Apache mentions I haven't used this lib with KMM, but it worked well with Compose. The Apache mentions regarding appcompat, do we really need that? This is a complete Compose app, right? I feel like I did need it for something, but I can't answer your question off the top of my head. But I remember going through and deleting as many of those libraries as I could. I think it might have something to do with activities or something, but I can't remember off the top of my head. Okay. So we got that going. I'm just going to Gradle Sync, so my computer's probably going to lag. Loading, loading, loading. Gradle Build is loading. Rawhide. I spent a lot of time waiting for Gradle to build yesterday and the day before. Is our stream healthy? Hey, our stream is healthy. Isn't that wonderful? While we wait for that to load, you can look at my beard, which is very crooked today. Uh-oh. 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 Gradle build error. All right. I probably just misspelled something. Android X. Yes. Lowercase x. Entirely avoidable. Okay, here we go again. If you're just joining me, Gradle is building. Wow, I just realized I have all my important papers just laying about behind me. All right. You're probably tired of looking at my face, so let's watch Gradle build. That's far more exciting. Shubham says, take a snapshot fast. I might be lagging right now, but just to complain a little bit. So I have been vaccinated twice, and you know, I don't want to start a big debate about vaccinations. That's not the point of me talking about this, but I've been vaccinated twice, but because I was vaccinated in different provinces of Canada, I have 2 vaccine passports now, and they both say that I'm partially vaccinated, even though I've had both vaccinations. So it's really annoying. Gradle's still building. Oh no! Why? No, por favor. Okay, this is a totally new... What? I'm so confused. Location aware exception. What is this nonsense? Is that it? Wow. Okay. I love it when random new errors just suddenly pop up. Okay, so the error type conversion. Unsupported notation exception. Cannot convert the provided notation. Okay, so it is an issue with the way I'm writing this dependency, presumably. So let me just look. I probably just misspelled it somehow. I don't know. Well, you know what? Let's try just removing it. And let me just I'm going to read that link that the Apache sent here, cuz if it is the case that we really don't need appcompat, then I'll just get rid of it. Okay. We'll see. We can try component activity. Maybe that's what the issue was. All right, so we'll get rid of that, and hopefully that'll fix our problem. Well, I won't get rid of that yet, but probably I'll get rid of that. Let's try and Gradle Sync again. I'm not sure if you can still hear me because it might be my CPU might be about to explode, but I think I'm probably still going to use this wrapper class here. And it looks like, so if I'm reading this properly, I'll have to return like an image. Oh no, this is not the one I want. I'll have to return. So these things will return image bitmap. Like this will be an image bitmap. Although I think it's a vector. But probably it'll be an image bitmap. Okay. All right. Anyways, so I think Gradle just built successfully. No, we've got this stupid problem going on here. Location aware. It doesn't like the way I'm writing the dependency is what I gather from that. So object image loader. How am I doing this wrong? Image loader. I don't know. Shouldn't it be deps.imageloader.imageloader? Is that, did I not write that? If I didn't write that, then I'm a dummy, to put it lightly. I have too many windows open, too many tabs open rather. Okay, where is my multi-platform compose setup? Yes, you're right. It should be imageloader.imageloader. So that was probably what the issue is. Thank you to Graph Sensei. wonder if this thing has support for vectors. Get the feeling it doesn't, which is potentially a problem. This is what I spent like all day doing yesterday and the day before. Not all day, half the day. Just making a change in Gradle, building, making a change in Gradle, building, making a change in Gradle, building. I explained what the issue was at the start of the show, so I won't explain it again, but it was one of those issues that as soon as I found it, I just completely didn't understand why it was actually an issue. Oh boy. I don't see why that would need to be a... Isn't there just like a color class in Compose? Yeah, we should be able to just do that for that one. Oh my god, it's still building. Oh, wait, no, it's done. Okay, build successful. As my Arabic speaking friends say, Alhamdulillah. Okay, here we go. So we're going to pass in our resource provider. This thing will probably implement that thingy, that the library we just added. And then we're going to need to pass this kind of down the chain of functions. I could potentially even have it as... Here's a thought. Okay, here's a thought. I could pass this thing down the chain of composables. I could also maybe have it as like a companion object or something. No, I don't think I could do a companion object. But what I'm trying to say here is I could maybe somehow add it to base view model and then just access it through the view model. And then that way it just saves me... So the argument for doing that is that it saves me having to pass that new object down all of the chain of composable function calls. The argument against it is that it's making my view models blobbier. But the thing about it is that in my approach to architecture, the view models, the very thing they're supposed to do is they're supposed to maintain the state and basically maintain and then publish updates for the state of the UI. And these images are definitely just to do with the state of the user interface. So I almost prefer that approach. Composition local provider provides the same functionality, right? I don't know. Why is it that I don't have composition local provider? Oh, suddenly I do have it. All right, what does this thing do? Binds values to providable composition local keys. So are you saying, Cybershark, that I should basically create my own composition local provider? Or my own composition local? It kind of sounds like what you're telling me is that I'm trying to reinvent the wheel. Hmm. Hmm. So the problem is, Cybershark, you might be correct. You might very well be correct. If you're not correct, then I might spend a ton of time messing around with something that in that time I could have just implemented my own solution. Okay. Provide an instance. Oh, I think I see what you're saying. Provide an instance of the resource class to access through any child composable. Okay. I see what you're saying. That's simpler. How do I do that? I've I've used composition local for getting dimensions, but I've never actually added anything to local. VJS, when to use Kotlin, how it solves problems which cannot be done in other languages. Well, actually, due to the law of Turing completeness, any problem can be solved in any programming language which implements a basic set of operations like and, or, XOR. But to answer your question, when to use Kotlin, if you're doing Android native development and you don't want to write clunky, ugly, verbose Java syntax, then that would be a great reason. Okay. Well, okay, let me look up how to add something to composition local. How do I create my own composition local? Using composition local provider. Okay, and that'll be in think. Composition local provider. Content goes here. So we wrap the content in a composition local provider. Interesting. And what arguments does it have? So values, we can give it a provided value. It would be really nice if they had a more useful example here. Like that doesn't... Do I just make up the names? Is that what they're talking about here? Let's call this local resources. Local resources provides local resources provides what is that thing I called? Resource provider? Okay, I'm guessing local elevations is a... Okay, so they only give you a certain number of options. Can I just do like a value? Okay, so it looks like the thing about it is that if I want to use composition local, it has to be something within the fields or whatever they're providing here, the different options. So that's not necessarily a problem. Is there anything to do with resources? Hmm. I'm not really seeing anything here. Okay. Maybe local URI handler, but the problem is I don't that looks like its own rabbit hole. Okay. I'm not really seeing it, but again, there might still be a way to do it, but at this point I think I'm just going to try and I have two choices again. I can pass it down the what's going on here? Why is this thing oh, because I changed the signature. That's why it's saying that. So I can pass it down the hierarchy, or I can include it probably in my base view model class. Although base view model exists in the common main, I think. So that means I'll need common main to extend the um, oh, okay. I'm still I'm confused on how to do that. So hmm. Apparently resources provider is something that's already used, so that might not have been a oh, mine's resource provider. And yeah, it's I need to um yeah. You know what I'm gonna do, Cybershark? I appreciate the input and you're probably right. Um I'm gonna try just adding it to the view model because at the end of the day that if it achieves the same result, I'm actually happy with it. But yeah. You might be correct though. All right. So, what we can do, we could add it to the. No, it's all good. I'm always open to trying different things, and it's one of those things where if there is a pre-made solution, I'm happy to try it. But also at the same time, I do feel like this is something that I'll be able to code myself pretty quickly. So, but we'll see. I might bite my words in a moment. So what we can do is we can have our base view model have one of these resource providers. So, and we'll probably just call it res. And it's a property must be, oh. I know how to Kotlin, I swear. Something like that. Now, this is going to mean that I can't share this base view model with it means that I'll have to put this resource provider in this package, which isn't necessarily a problem. So let's go ahead and do that. Where did it go? What did it just do? Okay, I don't, why is it not copying over? Okay, I don't understand what's going on here. Copy it over. Yes, yes, yes. Oh. Sometimes IntelliJ or Android Studio just pisses me off. All right, let's do it this way then. I'll just create the new file. Apparently, copy and paste is a little bit too much for Android Studio to handle right now. Okay. All right, so we've got this here. Oh, I don't think we can do that though, because image bitmap comes from image bitmap comes from compose, I think. And I don't actually want compose code in the common main module because I'm not necessarily going to be able to use that there. So, all right, so instead of doing that, what we're going to do, I'm going to try once to move this back over there. And it's not going to work because it sucks. So, cool. We're going to move the base view model over to the compose common source set because I'm not actually sure I'll be able to reuse it anyways, so that's not actually too big of a deal. Where's sync file changes? Okay. Yeah, that seemed to fix it. Okay, so we've got base view model, and it should now be able to reference resource provider. It's complaining here just because we need to implement a resource provider for each source set, but that's available here now. So in theory, every view model should now have a resource thingy with which it can retrieve an appropriate resource. So that should work. Now, obviously, we'll need to implement the thingies here. So let's do the Android one first. And how this works is we create an object. Oops, I did Java class. That was a mistake. God, no. So we create resource provider. I can't type, apparently. Resource provider, it's going to be an object. It's going to be an actual object. And actual, let's see, actual fun get icon. Yeah, let's just make this a little more expedited. And it doesn't like that. Oh, it doesn't have a body, that's why. I'm just doing that to see if it'll end up working. Obviously, that's not what it'll actually look like. Return. Oh, it needs to be an image bitmap, so that's not going to work. Why is it complaining? Has no corresponding... This was one of my issues with expect actual, is that it doesn't always work. It's telling me it has no corresponding you can't do that. It's telling me there's no corresponding actual declaration. So it doesn't look like I've misspelled it. It might be because I haven't, maybe I need to implement the functions as well. Cybershark mentions expect for the functions as well. It's that same thing there. If I do that, it says that is not applicable to a member function. So, yeah. Well, I can just... I'm sure you're supposed to be able to use... I'm quite sure you're supposed to be able to do this with objects, but maybe because it's an object, it doesn't like that. Just for fun's sake, let's try making it a class, and we'll see if that fixes it. Nope. Arg. Is it in the same package? com.example.samsara kmm common UI. Oh, this might be the issue. It's not in the same package, so that could actually be the issue. If it is, then I will be... Yes, that was the issue. It was in the wrong package. That was programmer error, everybody. Okay. Cool. Now, we are in the... we're in the Android source set, so we actually have a function for this already in a class we had open here, utilities, resource utils. Okay, so we're going to grab this crap and put it in here. I think I can do that, or is it going to scream at me for doing that? Okay, I think I can do that. And then we should be able to just be like icon.toResID. Oh, this could get interesting. I'm not actually sure if that will work. It might work. We'll see. Because I'm not actually in the Android module, but hopefully it'll work. We'll have to implement this thing. This will be get color, or what is it? To color.to res ID. That's actually not what is going to happen. So in this particular case, I think it needs to be why are we using color resources here? I don't actually know why I'm using color resources at all. Why wouldn't I be using the compose resources? Like just the Kotlin stuff. Um, I don't even think I need to fix that as a resource. Let's go back to day view screen and find a situation where I have to load a color. Task background. So it's stored as a color. I think what we'll do instead of that is okay, I think I know what's going on. So these are all the colors. We should be able to actually just use these. I don't know if I can leave them as being internal. That might not work. No, they're in the same module, so that should work. So we're going to write a little helper function. I'll probably just stick it here, actually. Fun get color, which will accept, or maybe we'll do extension properties. Sometimes I like doing extension properties. So color dot to color, that looks great. When this blah, actually we'll just copy this over, might as well. And then we will do, hopefully I named them the same things. Yes, I did. Cool. I think this is something I was going to have to do anyways, so. There we go. Okay, cool. So we shouldn't need to have the resources in our resource provider, the colors in the resource provider. Unless I am terribly mistaken. So we can actually just get rid of that, and we'll just worry about images, which simplifies things a little bit, which is nice. I like simplifying things. And then in here we would say what would we say? Task background, which should be a color. It should be a color. Okay, I think I know what's going on. So, excuse me. Icon res IDs, background res IDs. So instead of doing an int array, this will need to be an array of color. That's going to break pretty much everything, but that's okay. All right. To color. Not sure why it's complaining about that. Task color. Isn't this some beautiful code? Why not just use color everywhere then? I'm not entirely sure what you mean. Okay. Why is this complaining? Backgrounds.add. It's supposed to be an int. I thought I just changed that. Oh, I see. Oh, this will get fun. Okay, folks, well, I'm actually going to call it a day at this point because I have to go make some food for my girlfriend and probably some breakfast for myself. But yeah, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to do a bunch of work off camera and get these things sort of working a lot better. There's a lot of stuff that I need to play around with, and so I think I should go do that before I do a whole lot more streaming. But I just wanted to thank everyone who came out to offer suggestions, ask questions, and all that kind of stuff, or just watch. Thank you for watching, and yeah. So just a quick thing, I don't plan to do my live stream Q&A on this coming Sunday, but I will be probably doing a live stream Q&A on Monday, which will be like Thanksgiving here in Canada. So that's basically it. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you later.